The NBA's biggest villain is back, and he's an even bigger problem than last time. Every story needs a good villain. For the last few years, Dillon Brooks has been begging to fill that role. From bad-mouthing one of the GOATs,
I don't care, he's old,
to punching dudes below the belt, Brooks is proving that he doesn't care if you like him. He doesn't care how many jerseys he sells. He cares about winning. That is, until it comes time to back it up on the court. He has earned the reputation of a choke artist, especially after last year's playoff loss. After talking trash to LeBron before every single game, the man dropped 10 points per game on 30% shooting in round 1 of the playoffs, only hitting 14 of his 35 threes. The Grizzlies lost by 40 in the deciding Game 6, with Brooks only contributing 10 points. The Grizzlies said they weren't planning on signing him under any circumstances, a definitive statement that every hater in the league loved. NBA fans love a good villain, but they're supposed to back it up on the court, right? Draymond Green already gets enough hate. Can you imagine if he didn't win 4 titles? Then somehow, Brooks managed to get signed to an $80 million deal by the rebuilding Rockets. A team full of young players, and this is the veteran presence you want? Why would Houston take a swing on a guy like Dillon Brooks? Because everything you know about Brooks is wrong. First of all, the idea of him as a choker is overrated. That narrative didn't start last postseason, but back in 2022. In Game 4 against the Warriors, the eventual champs, Brooks shot an embarrassing 5 of 19, including 7 missed threes. He had 4 turnovers and 5 fouls in a 3-point loss. Combined with his latest no-show, it's easy to call him a choker. But remember how that Warriors series ended? He scored 30 points in the Game 6 loss, hitting 7 of 15 threes and playing ferocious defense on Curry. You still think he's an overrated defender? Keep watching. The Grizzlies' biggest loss came in Game 3, a 30-point loss that Brooks didn't even play in, but we'll get to that in a minute. People also want to forget about his 2021 playoff showcase, when the 4th-year pro dropped 26 a game as heavy underdogs in the first round against Defensive Player of the Year Rudy Gobert and the Utah Jazz. Now, it's not like he's a two-way stud or anything, but throughout his career, Brooks has been a steady 14 points a game and a viable 3-point option. His biggest issue? Shot selection. Brooks always has the green light, at least in his own mind. His career field goal percentage is just a hair over 40%, and as he spent more time in the league, his 3-point attempts have gone up, while his percentages have plummeted. If he only had a hard-nosed disciplinarian for a coach who could whip him into shape. Someone like Ime Udoka? Udoka has completely shifted the Houston Rockets organization this season. He's not there to make friends. If he sees you take a bad shot on his team, you're on the bench. For a team with a bunch of talented young kids, and Brooks, master of the bad shot, this was a perfect pairing. Now, we are only a quarter of the way through the season, but Brooks' stats are showing the Ime effect. He's shooting a career-high 48% from the field and 44% from 3, taking the fewest threes per game since 2019, but he's hitting them. Most importantly, Brooks fills the central part of the Ime Udoka system, ferocious defense. Now, if you look at the stats, you might call Brooks' defense overrated. He's supposed to be some sort of defensive stopper, right? So why do all of his advanced stats, like defensive win shares, defensive plus minus, VORP, why do they rank so low in the league? Why has he never gotten a single Defensive Player of the Year vote? And why is he only a one-time all-defensive player? Well, that's what happens when you guard the opponent's best player every single day. Even the best defensive players don't do that. This is like Kawhi 2014 level, just in terms of who he's matching up against. Brooks probably isn't one of the top few on-ball defenders like Kawhi was, but he's going out on every single play. When he's matched up against Curry, that means chasing him around screens for an hour. When he's playing LeBron, that means getting physical and not giving an inch. It also means doing this, apparently, for some reason. When Brooks was drafted out of Oregon in the 2nd round of the 2017 draft, that was his calling card, defense. That's also when the rest of the Brooks narrative began, including his title of villain. Up late in the Sweet 16 against the Blue Blood Duke, Brooks took a meaningless 3 from the logo with 10 seconds left. There was no reason to take this shot except that he could. That's what villains do. Coach K voiced his displeasure after the game, saying Brooks is too good for things like that. And Coach K knows his villains. Remember Grayson Allen? Brooks took the half compliment, half scold in stride. But after the game, he didn't think he did anything wrong. That's how villains operate. He said, "That's my fire. That's my passion." For a lot of guys, that passion fades once they grow up a little bit in the NBA. For Brooks, that hasn't happened. For 2 years on the Grizzlies, Dillon Brooks and Coach K alum Grayson Allen were on the same team. Is this the most hated two-man punch in NBA history? Allen is the guy who once got 2 flagrant fouls in just 8 seconds during a preseason game. He is one of the dirtiest role players in NBA history, and when he was shipped away from Memphis, Brooks filled that role. Now tasked with being the main villain and enforcer of his team, Brooks has gotten into it with everybody. He clocked Anthony Edwards in the face and got into a shouting match with the young Minnesota stud. He got under Siakam's skin, inciting a double technical. He took Chris Middleton to the floor and even got into it with former teammate Mike Conley after pulling an AI. Brooks even got into a fight with Shannon Sharpe, who was sitting courtside for a Lakers game, though this one might be Shannon's bad. The villain is an important role on good teams. Now, where would the bad boy Pistons be without Bill Laimbeer sending driving guards to the floor? Could the Bulls have completed their second three-peat without resident psycho Dennis Rodman? Or would the Sonics have been able to compete for a '96 title without Gary Payton? There's no way the '08 Celtics could have been transformed without Kevin Garnett's mentality, even more so than his on-court skill. But maybe the greatest example is Brooks' inspiration and recent rival, Draymond Green. When Dre was drafted in 2012, the Warriors were coming off a season where they were 26th in defensive rating. In 2013, they were up to 12th. When he started getting real minutes in 2014, they were 3rd, and then he anchored the league's best defense in 2015, all the way to 67 wins and a championship ring. You need a bit of an attitude on your team. It gets in the other team's head, and it lets them know this is not about to be an easy game. But like we saw in Minnesota a few weeks ago, that can go too far. Brooks has that talent, that innate gift of being an annoying player, we'll call it, putting it mildly. Just look at this after he scores on Tyrese Halliburton. He didn't even dunk it, but it can go too far. Punching guys in the crotch is bad enough, but risking their NBA careers? That was the play that kept Brooks out of the 2022 playoff game against the Warriors. This is not part of the game. This is not chippy. This is a dirty play that has no place in the NBA. But if you have a guy like Brooks, you have got to accept a few plays like that once in a while. He needs a great coach to reel him in. Ime Udoka is the right guy for that. He was the coach who turned around the Celtics after 18 disappointing months of 500 play to become a top-tier defensive unit and a finals runner-up. But even Steve Kerr can't keep Draymond in check all the time. Once in a while, this is something Rockets fans are going to have to live with because his ceiling is too high. Brooks' time with the Grizzlies is going to pale in comparison to his upcoming run with the Rockets. Now, it turns out that the Grizz were using him as the scapegoat for all of his antics, according to the villain himself.
Making Dillon Brooks the scapegoat, but whoever put that language and approved that language in the tweet, yeah, that person wants to make Dillon Brooks the scapegoat. The reality is, the Grizzlies have other problems besides Dillon Brooks. I can't remember a time in my now 17 years either being in the NBA or covering the NBA where we're in the second round of the playoffs, the day of a game where two of the greatest players ever are getting ready to square off, and we're just tweeting out things for engagement. The reality is, Dillon Brooks, do the antics. Did that hurt them? Like, there's other issues besides Dillon Brooks and him poking a bear.
And when he returned to Memphis, despite the tribute video they made him, he proved to them that they made a mistake with this dagger 3. But not with the Rockets. He's allowed to be the 4th or 5th option offensively, considering they have names like Jalen Green, Fred VanVleet, and Şengün all having career years. Brooks is allowed to focus on locking down the opponent's star and getting inside everyone's head. He'll be a perennial all-defensive player on a team that's destined to make some noise in the playoffs over the next few years. You think that's too optimistic? That Warriors analogy might be perfect for this Rockets team. Back in 2012, the Warriors hadn't made the playoffs in 5 straight seasons, one of the laughingstocks in the league, just like the Rockets had been post-Harden. They had Steph, a young, talented star who put up great numbers, but no one dreamed he'd become who he did. Can Jalen Green take that step? The Warriors got some defensive-minded veteran help in Andre Iguodala and Andrew Bogut, just like Brooks. Then they got the perfect coach for their new system, a guy who could bring out the best in all of their stars, just like Ime Udoka. Is it too early to make that comparison? Maybe, but every great team starts from somewhere. All we know is that Brooks is in the perfect situation for him, where he's not only allowed, but encouraged to be who he is, a villain. Do you think a villain like Brooks is good for the league? How high can the Rockets go with him? Is he overrated or just misunderstood? You know who else is misunderstood is Jeremy Sohan. Watch this video next. Listen to The Wrong Opinion, Useless NBA Trivia, and Garbage Rankings for more NBA content.